Alright, let's have a real conversation because clearly we are not being honest with ourselves. So I've been thinking about something. We always hear the phrases everyone is beautiful, beauty is subjective, or love is love. And for the most part, people do seem to believe that. I mean, including I. And I noticed that something interesting happens. You know, the moment a couple doesn't fit the conventional idea of what is considered equal in attractiveness, people start questioning it. You see a picture of an average looking person, is somebody considered widely very attractive, and suddenly the internet has a lot to say. Questions like, what does she seeing him? Is definitely with her for the clouds. Or the most common one that I'm very sure all of us here is, she's definitely with him for the money. Those type of questions start popping up. It's like people are looking for an explanation, as if attractiveness needs to follow a certain type of formula. And this reaction is not just personal opinion, it happens on a large scale, especially on social media. People start analyzing, comparing, and even criticizing relationships simply because they don't look the way they want them to look like. So that begs the question, do we truly believe that beauty is subjective, or do we only say it when it's convenient for us? And if we do have an unspoken ranking system for attractiveness, where does it come from? That's what we're going to be discussing today. And we're going to break down why this happens, how social media comes into play, and why people are so invested in who is dating who. So let's talk about this fake beauty subjective mindset because I have questions. Give me a sec. I know it looks like I'm wearing two glasses because of my ring lights, but we need glasses for me to explain this, dramatic stuff. So let's be honest. People love to say everyone is beautiful. I mean, it sounds nice. It makes us feel like we live in a world where looks doesn't matter, where personality and kindness are the real standards of attractiveness. But here's the problem, nobody actually believes this. I mean, let's think about it. If we all truly believed that beauty was subjective and everybody is beautiful in their own way, then why do people react so strongly when an ugly person is with somebody conventionally attractive? People start suddenly looking for an explanation, like there must be an hidden reason, a trick, or a trade off for this to make sense. Non-glasses Shibomi. Hi. So in our everyday life, we hear people talk about how attraction is about more than just looks. It's about personality. Confidence is key. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But the second somebody who isn't conventionally attractive is with somebody who is, all of that goes out the window. Suddenly, people need answers. He must be rich. She must be doing it for the money. Maybe he has an amazing personality. As if that's some impossible justification. It's as if people can't handle the idea that attraction is not always about following some imaginary ranking system. The double standard exposes a major contradiction. People like inclusivity, but they still judge relationships based on the conventional beauty norms. Now, what is even more telling is how people react depending on who in the relationship is considered out of league. Now, if an ugly man is dating a stunning woman, people assume that she must be settling down or she has an hidden motive. But if an ugly woman is dating a stunning man, let's be honest, it's a problem. People act like the man has been scammed. The comment shifts from full on curiosity to full on rescue mission mode. Bro could do so much better. What does he even see in her? She must have something we don't know about. And let's not ignore the fact that men typically get more leeway. I mean, I love both men and women, but we have to agree society is more favorable towards men. Society is way more comfortable seeing a regular or even a below average man with a beautiful woman than the reverse. Why? Because historically, men has been valued for things beyond looks. I mean, power, money, success, status, charm, while women are still heavily judged based on their appearance. But the moment a man with model look dates someone who isn't a size 2 with perfect facial symmetry, society acts like there's been a glitch in the system. A big reason why this happens is because people subconsciously treat beauty as a transaction or as a form of currency. The idea is if you are conventionally attractive, you deserve an equally attractive person or a more attractive person. It's like people are keeping score. If an ugly person ends up with, a 10, it is seen as unfair, as if attractiveness is something that must be earned or balanced in some way. That is why people start searching for this missing factor. And the missing factor is the comment I said earlier, like is rich, she has an amazing personality. Maybe there's some kind of arrangement we don't know about. Because people do assume that beauty must always be traded for something of equal or greater value, whether it's wealth, social status, or power. But here's the thing, attraction isn't math. People are not forming relationships based on some formula that ensures that everything is equal. Sometimes people just like each other. It's really that simple. Before social media, people mostly judged, couples in private conversations. But now, every reaction, every relationship is put under the microscope for millions to analyze. The second an unconventional couple posts a picture together, the comment section is basically a public debate forum. Like, this doesn't make sense. It must be funny as hell. What's worse, people now feel entitled to explanation. Like if a couple doesn't feel the beauty standard, the internet demands to know why. There has to be this logical reason. It can't possibly be because they genuinely love each other. The reality is the same people who preach that beauty is subjective are often the first to criticize relationship that does not align with the mainstream beauty media. At the end of the day, it all comes down to one truth. People don't actually believe that everyone is beautiful. They just like the idea of it because it sounds progressive. It makes us feel like everyone is actually beautiful and it sounds open minded because their reaction to real life couples basically prove otherwise. Because if people truly believed that beauty was subjective, they wouldn't be so obsessed with ranking systems or ranking others and questioning other people's relationship that does not match their expectations. They wouldn't feel the need to justify why somebody unattractive has a beautiful partner. So next time you catch yourself questioning a relationship with the classic "what is she saying" in, ask yourself this: do I actually believe that beauty is subjective, or do I just like saying that? And why does it bother me when people don't follow the league system? Am I judging relationships based on my genuine connection, or am I just projecting my biases? You know when things really get crazy? When famous people or celebrities date regular looking people, not ugly, just when they date regular looking people, the internet loses it. Now let's talk about celebrities because if there's something that one people get worked about is when a famous, attractive, or successful celebrity dates someone who doesn't fit the script. Society has spent decades conditioning us to believe that celebrities, especially the most conventionally attractive ones, should date equally attractive, wealthy, or powerful people. We've seen it over and over, like Hollywood couples like Beyonce and Jay Z, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. We also have Zendaya and Tom Holland. They just make sense to people. But the second a celebrity steps outside the expected standard, the internet loses it. Suddenly, people start analyzing every detail. What is she seeing him? Is he really that funny? There must be something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. Let's break some examples where celebrity relationships have completely messed up the internet understanding of attractiveness and dating expectations. We're going to start with the famous one, Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco. Let's start with a recent example. When Selena Gomez started dating Benny Blanco, social media could not comprehend it. I mean, Selena is a global superstar. She's gorgeous, successful, beloved by millions. Benny Blanco, I mean, is a producer, sure, but it's not exactly the Hollywood, heartthrob that people expected her to be with. And the reactions, wild. She literally could have anyone. Why him? I even saw a post about someone saying even her feet is like prettier than his face. Like that was crazy. Like people are genuinely mad as if Selena Gomez dating choices was, a personal betrayal to her fans or to the idea of who she deserves. But this exposes something interesting. The unspoken rule that the beautiful, famous woman should only be with men who are equally attractive, rich and adored by millions. And if they don't have that, the men should either be powerful or popular in terms of status or power, and anything outside of that is just seen as confusing or wrong. What if she just likes him? What if she enjoys his personality? These questions, they never seem to cross people's mind because they're busy trying to solve the mystery of why a stunning woman would date a guy of that caliber. It doesn't fit the Hollywood leading man standard. We have number two, Florence and Zach. Another classic example, Florence, one of the most talented and beautiful young actresses of a generation, dated Zach Braff, an actor and director. He's mainly known for Scrubs. Now, Zach isn't an ugly guy, but at the same time, he's not exactly your young, chiseled, model type that people expected Florence to be with. Plus, the 21-year-old gap just made the internet go into shock, basically. People didn't just question their relationship, they just straight up dismissed it as wrong. Like, she could do so much better than him. What is she saying? Someone even said he must have insane riz because this doesn't make sense. Yeah. So the backlash, yeah, got so intense. She had to address it out, calling people out for being obsessed with who she chooses to date. Again, the situation proves the same point that if a stunning, attractive woman dates a guy who isn't on a level, people feel the need to justify it. Now, if the roles were reversed, an handsome man dates an average guy, the reaction would be completely different. Let's be honest. So when Leonardo DiCaprio, dates women younger than him, 20 years plus younger than him, let me add that there, the internet just shrugs, basically, you know. But when Florence does it, it's another problem. Now, a major example, Pete Davidson. Now, it's an interesting case because normally when an unconventionally attractive guy dates a beautiful celebrity, people get mad. But Pete, it just somehow keeps winning. Okay, let's run down his dating history. Ariana Grande, Kim Kardashian, Kyle Gibber, Emily, Kate. He has dated some of Hollywood's finest, the high profile women in Hollywood. And every time he does this, the internet goes into detective mode. Now, the difference between Pete Davidson, Benny Blanco, or Zach is that Pete is actually accepted as a meme, not like it's not taken seriously. Like people don't get angry about his dating life, they just treat it as an inside joke. So instead of questioning why women find him attractive, people just laugh and say, oh, he strikes again. But here's the double standard. If a female celebrity should actually date a string of conventionally attractive men while being seen as average looking, the reaction would not just be jokes, it will be backlash. People would question our worthiness, not just be amused by it. Now, the list will not be complete without Chris Evans and Alba Baptista. Basically, the reaction, she's lucky. Now, let's flip the script. When Chris Evans, aka Captain America, one of Hollywood's most, beloved heartthrobs, started dating Alba, a lesser known Portuguese actress, the internet did not react the same way. Instead of asking why is he with her, people started romanticizing their relationship. She's so lucky. She must be special to everyone's heart. A true fairy tale. Nobody questioned whether she was attractive enough for him. Nobody assumed that she must have an hidden agenda. Instead, people accepted it because the beauty standard hierarchy wasn't disrupted. I think the only issue people had was the age gap, and that was quickly like shut down because people were like, they are adults, so they know what they are doing. Why celebrity relationships exposes the social bias? At the end of the day, these celebrity case studies highlight a more bigger issue. People don't actually believe that beauty is subjective because when an attractive woman dates a guy who isn't conventionally attractive, people demand an explanation. But when an attractive man dates a woman who isn't conventionally beautiful, people assume that she must have something special. But if both people are attractive, people don't question it at all. Social media has turned relationships into something that people feel entitled to judge. Like, I must know the reason why you're dating this kind of person, kind of judgment. And every couple that doesn't match the expected beauty standards gets put under a microscope, as if love is some kind of mathematical equation that always needs to add up. But in real life, it just doesn't work like that. People like who they like. Attraction isn't always about status, money, or physical perfection. It's about chemistry, connection, and actual human emotions. So next time you see a celebrity couple that doesn't make sense to you, maybe you should ask yourself, why does this bother me? Am I judging this relationship based on attraction or my own bias? Would I react the same way if the genders were reversed? Because at the end of the day, beauty might be subjective, but society's reaction to it, that's very predictable. Segment 3, the science behind attraction. Why do mismatched couple bother people so much? It's because whether you admit it or not, you see attractiveness as a form of currency, some type of currency. Okay, let's break down why people are attracted to certain individuals. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about looks, it's about biology, psychology, and even social conditioning. So people love to act like attraction is purely objective, like there's a universal standards of beauty that applies to everyone. But in reality, attraction is a mixture of evolution, culture, personal experiences, and even social status. Let's dig into the science behind who we like. why beauty standards exist in the first place. Let's start with biology because whether we like it or not, a lot of our attraction is actually influenced by evolutionary psychology. So from a survival standpoint, humans are wired to look for traits that signifies health, fertility, and strong genetics. Here's why. Symmetry is attractive because it's linked to good genes. Clear skin is seen as appealing because it signifies good health. Facial structure plays a role because strong jawline in men and softer features in women have been evolutionarily associated with testo- testosterone and estrogen level. But here's where it gets interesting. These preferences aren't universal. Different cultures have different beauty standards. And I think we all know that by now. Because they have beauty standards based on the environment and history. In some cultures, thicker bodies were and are still, especially in my country, Nigeria, considered attractive because they signified wealth and nourishment. In others, like in Asia, paler skin is idealized because it signifies nobility and staying out of the sun. Whereas in modern Western beauty, tan skin is actually more desirable. So basically, the height, shape, and body, and even the hair textures are basically subjective factors that have changed, over time based on social influence rather than biology. So when people act like attraction is fixed, they're basically ignoring the fact that beauty standards change across time and cultures. Let's talk about how society shapes what we find attractive. From the moment we are born, we are exposed to media, advertisement, and cultural messages telling us what beautiful is supposed to look like. So we have things like Hollywood and entertainment. The actors who get cast as a romantic lead, in the movie, they are always conventionally attractive, symmetrical, and often fitting a current beauty standard. Now, social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok, they've created unrealistic beauty filters that basically reshape the entire face into what is considered perfect. Fashion and marketing. Beauty and fashion industries push certain body types, skin tone, and features as trendy. What now happens as a result? We internalize the standards. We start believing that, okay, this certain facial structure or body types are superior. Then we now subconsciously rank people attractiveness based on what we've been conditioned to see as ideal. We assume that if somebody doesn't match these expectations, they must be unattractive, even if historically or culturally they couldn't be seen that way. This is why when a couple doesn't fit into the conventional beauty standards or norms, like ugly guy gets to date hot women, people get confused because it doesn't fit the narrative of what we've been taught about who deserves who, if you get what I mean. Because people feel they need to justify it, whether by assuming that money has to be involved or some other types of hidden factors. The psychology of attraction, more than just looks. Now let's move beyond the biology and social conditioning because obviously attraction is way more than that. It's more than what someone just looks like or more than how our brain is. So there are several types of attraction, and the physical look is just one part of the attraction types. Yeah. One of the types we have is personality and charisma. Studies have shown that personality can literally make somebody seem more attractive. A person who is funny, confident, and engaging will often be rated as more physically attractive than somebody who is conventionally attractive but doesn't have any of these qualities. And this is called the halo effect, when positive traits or positive personality traits make somebody seems more appealing or physically appealing to another person. Now think about it. Have you ever met someone who wasn't your type, but their personality was basically the best? Like the more you talked to them, the more attractive they become. Now, on the flip side, have you met someone who was actually conventionally attractive, but their personality was just shit? Yeah, that's why people like Pete Davidson seems to like win at dating because humor, charm, and confidence change how people perceive attractiveness. The second one we have is the familiarity effect. Did you know we are more likely to be attracted to someone who reminds us of people we know? Studies have shown that familiarity breeds attraction. We tend to look for people who looks like our parents, friends, or past partners. We tend to find them more attractive and we feel more safe and comfortable with them. This is why also people from the same social circles or communities often end up together because it's not just about looks, it's about shared experiences, culture, and comfort. We have another one, emotional connection. Ever heard someone say, they are not my type, but I just love being around them? This is because attraction is heavily influenced by, emotional bonding. Feeling understood, supported, makes somebody feel more attractive than just having good looks. That is why relationship that seems unequal in terms of physical beauty can still be deeply fulfilling because what we actually value in a partner goes beyond what they actually look like. Section 4: Why people struggle with unconventional couples. Now that we understand the science behind attraction, now let's bring it back to the original question. Why does society react so strongly when a couple doesn't match in attractiveness? Now, it all boils down to three things: cognitive dissonance. People want to believe that attraction, it follows a clear logical pattern. Hot people date hot people, average people date average people, and ugly people date ugly people. When the expectation is broken, it creates discomfort, and the brain tries to explain it away. That is, she must be in it for the money. Those kind of factors. The second factor we have is social status and beauty hierarchies. Society has already created an unspoken ranking system where people believe that those with more beauty, fame, or money should be people of equal status or more than that or level. When somebody breaks that hierarchy, people resist it. So the third one we have is projection and insecurity. I feel like the second one is the most common one. This follows the second one, like this is number two on my list because sometimes people project their own fear and insecurities onto celebrity relationships. Like if someone is struggling with their self worth, seeing an unconventional couple can make them question their own desirability, and that discomfort, turns into judgment. Like, why? I am not passing my boundary. Why are you? Those kind of thoughts. And finally, my final thoughts. I feel like attraction is not a formula. So at the end of the day, what's the takeaway here? Attraction is complex. It is shaped by biology, cultural things, and psychology, even personal experiences, and it's not just about love. Society creates beauty hierarchies, but real life doesn't always follow them. Just because a couple doesn't make sense to you doesn't mean that their connection is not real. And people like who they are, and sometimes that has nothing to do with expected or logical in terms of conventional beauty standards. Social media and the league mentality. So now let's talk about this league mentality that the system or society made up. Society has completely changed, how people view relationships, because in the past dating was a personal experience. You meet someone, you get to know them, and if you are connected, that was enough. But now, the moment a couple post a picture together, the internet turns into a panel of judges analyzing whether they match or they don't match in terms of look, status, or wealth. The concept of people being in or out of league has been around for a long time, actually, but social media has just amplified it. So, because people often assume that relationship should make sense based on external factors like appearance or income, and when a couple doesn't meet those expectations, the speculation begins because everyone acts like there's an official ranking system for dating, like there's a FIFA World Cup for attractiveness, and people has they've got to qualify to date certain people. And I am on TikTok. I have TikTok because that's where I get all my stuff to talk about. But TikTok has people thinking the relationship should be like a draft pick. The way people analyze couples like ESPN commentators. In real life, there's no league. People date based on personality, vibe, humor, and shared experiences, and sometimes just random chemistry. Not everything is about aesthetic. I mean, you ever notice how society expects men to be average but expects women to be flawless? A man can be a 4 and still deserves a 10, but a woman, she better not even try. Because everybody expects women to be beautiful and humble. But if she's too pretty and picks a guy that you people think is ugly, suddenly she's lowering her standards. Make it make sense. Let's talk about how the internet actually reinforced the league mentality. The idea that some people are too beautiful or not attractive enough for others has been reinforced by things like TikTok rankings, Reddit discussions, and dating app algorithms. But here's the thing: do leagues actually exist, or are they just another, social construct? And is attraction really a measurable ranking? Like, is it a ranking system, and is it more subjective than we think? And how has the internet, shaped our perception in knowing who is deserving of love? So we're going to break it down. Before social media, people mostly judge attractiveness through their immediate surroundings, like the school, workplace, social circles. But now the internet has globalized it. People compare themselves not just to those surrounding them, but to influencers, celebrities, models who have access to money, stylists, and editing tools. Dating app ranks people desirability based on how often they get swiped on, literally turning attraction into a numbers games. Entire online communities exist where the people analyze, debate, and judge who is out of league. The result? People become hyper aware of how they rank compared to others. Some even develop insecurities about whether they are good enough for their current partner or their crush, while others have become entitled, thinking that they deserve a certain level of attractiveness just because of their own perceived status. Now, TikTok attractiveness scale trends. Users post filters that rank their faces from 1 to 10, reinforcing the idea that attractiveness is actually objective rather than subjective. Reddit threads on look matching or posts where people ask, is my partner too attractive for me? Will a girl like this even go for a guy like me? Apps like Tinder, Hinge, and Bubble all have hidden ranking systems based on swipes, which reinforces the ideas that some people are more desirable than others. So this basically creates a toxic cycle where people start, chasing validation rather than genuine connection. Some feel trapped in their perceived league, assuming they can only date within that certain level. Others become bitter or resentful when they feel rejected by those they consider on the same level or below them. But here's the truth, attraction is way more complicated than a number ranking. Now, let's do this myth of the 1 to 10 scale. One of the biggest thing the internet pushes, on us is that everyone can be rated like from 1 to 10. But let's actually break this down. Attractiveness is not a fixed number. You might be a 10 to one person and a 5 to another. Let's be honest, it's just all about personal preference. Context matters. Someone who looks average in a setting might seem way more attractive in another, likely being the most charismatic person in the room. Personality shifts perception. A person's confidence, humor, and energy can literally change how they are being perceived by others over time. Now, think about it. There are celebrities people universally agree that are attractive, let's be honest, but there are also plenty of famous people who are considered hot by some and mid by others, like the Margot Robbie stuff. So, there are some people who grow up after high school or college because they grow into their features and develop confidence. There are couples who seem uneven in attractiveness, but they are happy together because real attraction is not just about looks. So why are people so obsessed with ranking themselves and others? Because the internet has gamified attraction. People see validation in the form of likes, swipes, comments, and they are treating their own appearance like a profile picture or profile score instead of something natural and beautiful, deserving certain looks, the entitlement problem. Another issue with the internet reinforcing the league mentality is the belief that certain people deserve specific level of attractiveness in a partner. Probably seen it before, especially on Reddit. A guy saying, I have a good job, so why don't I date a model tier woman? Or a TikTok video, someone downgrading after breakup as if human are status symbols instead of human beings. Or people assume that someone is dating an unattractive person because they are just settling down. This mindset is actually dangerous because it reduces relationship into a transaction. It treats people like they're only valuable as their looks rather than as full individuals with emotions, personality, and chemistry. Now, how does the league mentality affect dating in real life? The internet has made people so obsessed with who belongs with who that it actually makes dating harder in real life. Self sabotage. Some people assume that they are not attractive enough and they don't even try, missing out on potential future partners or connection. Unrealistic expectations. I think this is the most common one, especially on Instagram and TikTok, because some people chase partners purely based on looks and then they ignore compatibility, leading to bad relationships and future, regrets. Fear of judgment. Some people actually avoid dating partners they like because they are worried about what others will think. Think about how many times you've seen, a guy approaching a girl because she's out of his league, or a girl warned against dating a mid guy because her friend thinks she can do better. Couples getting judged just because their attractiveness level is not equal. At the end of the day, none of that matters if two people actually are happy together. So, breaking the league mindset. So, how do we undo this toxic mentality that the internet has created? First of all, we have to stop thinking of attraction as a ranking system. It's fluid, personal, and more than just, looks. Challenge your own bias. Ask yourself, am I judging somebody's relationship based on their real chemistry or just internet conditioning? Recognize that your confidence and your personality can actually change your attraction. Stop obsessing over where you rank and start focusing on how you're going to carry yourself. Understand that people like who they like. At the end of the day, attraction isn't something you can just measure in a TikTok thread or a Reddit forum. So next time you catch yourself thinking, are they in the same league? Ask yourself, does it actually matter? Or is it just another internet created insecurity? So basically, at the end of the day, the way we perceive beauty, attraction, and leagues has been heavily influenced by the internet and social media. But that doesn't mean we actually have to accept those conditions or narratives as the truth. The idea of leagues that people exist in this fixed tier of attractiveness has made dating feel like a competition rather than human connection. It fuels insecurity, entitlement, and unrealistic expectations, making people doubt themselves or judge others unfairly. But here's what actually matters: attraction isn't a one size fits all. No. What is beautiful to one person might not seem beautiful to another person. And relationships are not just about aesthetic, they're about compatibility, understanding, personality, and chemistry, and your charisma sometimes. And no one is out of your league. Get that? If you connect on a genuine level, what you are supposed to be thinking is, okay, so how can we move forward? Not, is he on my league or am I in his league? Stop that. Now, challenge the narrative that you've absorbed. Just because something is popular online doesn't mean it's healthy or it's real. Focus on self confidence over comparison. At the end of the day, no filter, algorithm, or social media trend should be able to define your worth. You define that. So next time you see an odd couple and feel like they are not on the same league, or you have the urge to talk nonsense, ask yourself, am I mad? This challenges the way I see beauty. Will I react the same way if the roles were reversed? Do I actually believe that beauty is subjective, or do I just say that because it sounds nice? Because at the end of the day, people like what they like. I'll keep saying it, and not everything needs to make sense to you. So if you enjoyed this, hit the like and subscribe button and share it with somebody who needs to hear this. Drop your thoughts in the comment section, and we're going to, keep this conversation going there if the conversation happens there, because this is my first video. Thanks for watching. Bye.